The night Karachi fell in love. The monsoon had arrived early that year, turning Karachi's streets into rivers of memory and possibility. Ayesha stood on the balcony of her grandmother's old apartment in Saad, watching the rain transform the city into something almost mythical. The neon signs of the shops below bled their colors into the wet pavement, pink, blue, gold, like watercolor paint running down on canvas. She had returned to Karachi after 12 years away. London had given her a career, a polished accent, and a comfortable life, but it had never given her home. Now, at 32, standing in the city that had raised her, she felt like a ghost visiting her own past. Her phone buzzed. Another message from her mother about tomorrow's dinner with a suitable boy, a doctor settled from a good family. Ayesha sighed and set the phone face down on the railing. That's when she heard it, the sound of a guitar drifting up from somewhere below, mixing with the rhythm of the rain. The melody was hauntingly familiar, something from her childhood, but she couldn't place it. She leaned over the balcony, trying to locate the source. There, in the small chai dhaba across the street, barely visible through the curtain of rain, sat a man with a guitar. His head was bowed in concentration, fingers moving across the strings like he was having a conversation with the instrument. Without thinking, Ayesha grabbed her dupatta and ran downstairs. Saad didn't notice her at first. He was lost in the music, playing an old Mehdi Hassan ghazal his father used to hum while shaving each morning. His father had been gone for 3 months now, and Saad had discovered that music was the only place where grief didn't feel quite so heavy. "That song," a voice said softly, "my grandfather used to sing it." He looked up to find a woman standing at the edge of the dhaba's small covered area, rain dripping from her dupatta, her eyes bright with unshed tears. "Waranjish hai sahi," Saad said, his fingers stilling on the strings. "Your grandfather had good taste." She laughed. A sound like bells, he thought, then immediately felt foolish for thinking something so cliché. But it was true. "May I?" she asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. The dhaba's owner, old Rehman Chacha, brought her chai without being asked, giving Saad a knowing wink that made his ears burn. They talked as the rain fell harder. Ayesha told him about London, about feeling caught between two worlds, about her grandmother's apartment that still smelled of rosewater and old books. Saad told her about his father, about the architecture firm he'd started that designed buildings with soul instead of just steel and glass, about how Karachi was changing so fast he sometimes didn't recognize his own city. "But you love it," Ayesha said. It wasn't a question. "Desperately," Saad admitted, "even when it breaks my heart, maybe especially then." Hours passed like minutes. The rain showed no sign of stopping, and neither did their conversation. They discovered they'd attended the same school, though years apart. They'd both hidden in the same dusty bookshop on Empress Market as children. They both believed that the best biryani in Karachi was found in small, unnamed places where old women cooked with recipes passed down through generations. "My mother wants me to meet someone tomorrow," Ayesha said suddenly, staring into her empty chai cup. "A doctor. She's shown me his picture 17 times. "Is he handsome?" Saad asked, surprised by the tightness in his own chest. "Probably. I don't know. You keep deleting the message." She looked up at him. "This is crazy. I don't even know your last name." "Hassan. Saad Hassan." He extended his hand formally, and when she took it, something electric passed between them that had nothing to do with the storm. "Ayesha Khan." She didn't let go of his hand. "I leave in 2 weeks." "I know," he said, though of course he didn't know, not really, but he understood. He could see it in her eyes, the pull of the life she'd built elsewhere, the weight of expectations, the fear of choosing wrong. "Play something else," she whispered. So he did. He played every song he knew, his voice rough but honest, singing about love and loss and cities that lived in your bones. Other people had left the dhaba long ago, but Rehman Chacha kept bringing them chai, smiling his ancient smile that suggested he'd seen this story before, many times, in many versions. When Saad finally set down his guitar, the rain had softened to a gentle patter. The call to Fajr prayer drifted across the city, mixing with the sound of water dripping from awnings and the first stirrings of the morning birds. "We've been here all night," Ayesha said, wonder in her voice. "All night," Saad confirmed. "Karachi has been our witness." They walked through the wet streets as the city woke around them. The street sweepers were already at work, and the smell of fresh bread wafted from a nearby bakery. Everything felt new, washed clean by the rain. At the door to her grandmother's building, they stopped. "I should go to that dinner," Ayesha said. "It would make my mother happy." "You should do what makes you happy," Saad replied. "And if I don't know what that is yet?" He reached out and tucked a strand of wet hair behind her ear, his hand lingering against her cheek. "Then maybe you stay long enough to find out. You have a life in London, a job, an apartment with a view of the Thames." "I know. This is one night. People don't change their entire lives based on one night." "I know that too." Saad's thumb traced the curve of her jaw. "But maybe one night is enough to make you ask the right questions." She kissed him then, there in the doorway as the city awakened, and it felt like coming home to a place she'd never been. Ayesha did go to the dinner the next evening. She sat across from the doctor, who was indeed handsome and kind and perfectly suitable, and felt absolutely nothing. Her mother watched her with hopeful eyes, and Ayesha's heart broke a little, knowing what she had to say. "I'm sorry," she told them both, "but my heart is already somewhere else." That night she found Saad at the same dhaba, guitar in hand, waiting as if he'd known she would come. "I can't promise I'll stay forever," she told him. "I don't know what happens next." "No one does," he said, standing up to meet her. "But I know this. Love isn't about having all the answers. It's about being brave enough to ask the questions together." She took his hand, and they walked into the Karachi night, joining the millions of other love stories this ancient, modern, impossible, beautiful city had cradled in its chaos. 2 weeks turned into 2 months. Ayesha negotiated remote work with her London firm. She moved into her grandmother's apartment permanently, filling it with new memories while honoring the old. Saad's architecture firm designed their first sustainable housing project, and Ayesha found herself consulting on it, bringing her international experience to a city that desperately needed new ideas built on old values. They got married on a rainy evening, exactly 1 year after they met, in the same dhaba where Rayman Chacha served chai and smiled his knowing smile. The whole neighborhood came, because in Karachi, joy is never a private affair. And when people asked Ayesha if she regretted leaving her London life behind, she would smile and say, "I didn't leave anything behind. I found everything I was looking for." Because sometimes love isn't about finding someone who fits into your life. Sometimes it's about finding someone who makes you want to build an entirely new life in a city that holds its lovers close and teaches them that the most beautiful journeys begin when you're brave enough to come home. The night Karachi fell in love wasn't just about two people finding each other in the rain. It was about a woman finding her roots, a man finding hope after loss, and a city that, despite all its chaos and heartbreak, still believed in the transformative power of a single perfect night.